She comes from the Arab world. She lives in America, and she has taken her person empowering back to the Middle East, where she is working with businesses, and particularly Elza is one of the instruments who is working to really steer this in a positive direction for the people who live there and for the rest of the world. She also has worked extensively with Don Beck. You keep hearing us referring to Don and Elza, because she has worked with spiral dynamics and absorbed the great wisdom of that system. So, Elza Maalouf.
As you well know, I work with Don, but I also work in different parts of the Middle East. It just happens that I work with women because in every project I go into, women rise to the occasion, and especially the millennial generation. These young men and women are unbelievable. In the Arab world, you can see young men and women who want to do something, look who did the revolution. In Egypt and Tunisia, these are young men and women. They want to change. And let me start my presentation because I might be late. Okay, so the post-revolution Middle East, MEMEtocracy, designing governance that fits. So what is designing governance that fits? It's based on Dr. Beck's stratified democracy with more details about the kind of governance, the kind of politician that is needed for the next stages in different countries. So we need what Don calls a second-tier politician, a yellow politician who is not a career politician. We don't want to elect those people over and over and over again, and they present the old models. Some of them are great, some of them are moving along, some of them are evolutionaries, but most of them are repeating the old model, and that's the definition of insanity. Oh, okay. So this is a, okay. This is something Winston Churchill said. Many forms of government have been tried and will be tried in this world of sin and woe. No one pretends that democracy is perfect or all-wise. Indeed, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. So this is the only model that we are stuck with. How can we change this model? What can we do for the emerging countries? What's next for Egypt? What's next for Syria? What's next for Afghanistan or for China? So let's explore this. Okay. I'm going to move here. Oh, okay. So I'm going to explain what is MEMEtocracy, MEMEtocracy. So it's democracy as it applies to memetics. How does the MEMEtocracy framework contribute to global emergence? I talk about functional governance and an evolutionary model. And what is a 21st century governance in the Middle East? An Arab-style democracy of sorts. Okay, I have to go back here. Okay. So MEMEtocracy, that's my definition, so bear with me, is a unifying theory based on the emerging science of memetics and value systems. It's a whole systems approach to democracy. What is a whole systems approach? So we study the life conditions. What are the life conditions in a country? Problems, geography, circumstances, and the time. So when you study the life conditions, you will know, based on the memetic structures of the country, you will know what's next for the country. It places governance on an evolutionary path and designs systems to fit life conditions, value systems, and worldviews of the culture. Republicans or Democrats. And now we are so polarized in this country, we need a model of MEMEtocracy that can apply to this country. And it advocates the formation of superordinate goal that transcends inter-party and intra-party fragmentation and polarization. If you notice, with Democrats and Republicans, there are the extremists, the flamethrowers, the zealots in each party, and they don't skip a beat. And sometimes they need each other so they can fuel the situation. The same thing happens in Gaza and Israel. God knows who sends the missiles. We don't know. Because sometimes many parties need to keep the situation, the conflict going, because they're benefiting at the same time. I remember the first time we were flying, Dr. Beck and I, to Israel and Palestine. He goes, Elza, don't expect those Palestinians and Israelis to hate each other. I said, come on, Don. He said, I saw blacks and Afrikaners working together in South Africa. It's usually the governments that fuel the issues. The different governments fuel the issues. And I went there. I saw a young man like Shadi, who's here. He has friends from Tel Aviv. They have friends from Tel Aviv. They meet with Israelis on a regular basis. They like each other. They want to work with each other. They don't want this wall. But unfortunately, it's the superpowers and other issues and other wild cards that are keeping the issues fueled. So I did some research, and I called what I did, the people that I met, in indigenous intelligence. And I changed the meaning of indigenous, and I'll tell you how. So empowers the indigenous intelligence that informs the political design process for the culture. It is functional, spans the spectrum of governance models from benevolent monarchs. So indigenous, it used to be, Native Americans or Mayan culture, etc. I changed it to mean an indigenous intelligence. It's the people. When I go to San Francisco, I ask San Franciscans to tell me about their culture. When I come to New York, well, I know a lot about New York, but I ask New Yorkers to tell me about their culture. The same when I go to Palestine and Israel. Even though I speak Arabic, I've been away from the region, but I ask them, tell me about your culture, tell me about the content, the mindsets, the belief systems of your culture. I want to understand. So what we do, we find the indigenous intelligence, train them to become value system experts, VSEs. Usually they come to us. They are attracted to us. Like Shadi yesterday, we just met him, and he said, I want to learn. I want to go back to my country and be a politician. We work with them through the natural design principles. So I'll go quickly over the most important part of the natural problem of this level of existence. We immediately create the next set of problems of the next level of existence. So, and then we solve these problems, we create the next problems, etc., etc. And now these are from beige to green. These are the first tier systems. MEMEtocracy is a model, is a theoretical framework based on the second tier system. So existential and holistic. How much time do I have? 5 minutes? Okay. These are some perspectives on peace. For the jungle, for the cavemen and women, I stay alive, survival instinct. Tribal cultures, we are safe, we hear spirit voices. feudal exploitative culture, I rule, conquest. If Gaddafi was still alive, he could have used nuclear weapon on his people, and there will be peace. Absolutistic, moralistic, we have order, rule of law. Enterprising, we negotiate. Usually, you know, Wall Street, what do they do to get peace? They negotiate, they make a deal. Humanistic, we are equal, we dialogue. Once you get to second tier, I care and I do. That's why, as Mark well said, we can't sit, you know, and meditate on our cushions. We have to go into this world. If we have the qualifications, and I waited until I became really competent to do this. I trained with Don for many years, and when I felt I am really competent, I went out on my own and I did it. So you have to be competent. You have to understand the systems and go and work in the world. It's not showing. Okay. So this is where Syria is right now. Iraq, with all the changes that we did, it's a red. So we'll see. We'll see. I think we were late going to see, doing something about Syria, but that's my assumption. Why? Because they represent the blue for Egypt. If it wasn't for the economy and people are hungry right now, they would have accepted the Muslim Brotherhood. I talk to regular Egyptians. They tell me Muslim Brotherhood distribute the wealth. We have larger bread. We have water. We have the necessities of life. And it's unfortunate because the government is not doing that. The world did not live in the same fear that their parents lived. Their parents were not connected to the internet. It's not just the internet, but they did not feel the fear that their parents felt because they were able to talk to someone in Sweden and talk about democracy, someone in the US and talk about democracy. So they broke the barrier of fear, and that's why they were able to go to Tahrir Square, and Muhammad Abu Azizi put himself on fire.